then. 33425 on the agenda. Apologies for absence. Any, Alan, please.
The apologies for Councillor Brindle, Councillor Evans, Councillor Harvey, Councillor Mitchell, Councillor Ross Smith and Councillor Wright.
Okay, thank you. 33525, declaration and disclose of pecuniary interest. If there's any, please let us know, or as we go through the agenda, do feel free to mention. Any? No? Thank you. 33625, so to confirm the minutes of full council meeting that was held on the 18th of December as a record. To agree the minutes from last meeting? Are we agreeing the meetings? Do we have any points to make at all? No? All in favour then? Thank you. Yeah, please.
Yeah,
We follow all the places.
yes. I can't squeeze in there that you can use like a break. He won't.
Okay. Yeah. No, we will address it in a couple.
Perfect, thank you.
So, okay, so I guess that we have exclusion of press and public on 337. To consider resolving that pursuant to public bodies admission to meetings, the Act 1960, the press and public be excluded for any remaining items of business on the grounds that publicity would be prejudicial to public interest by reason of confidential nature of the business to be discussed. Are we agreeing to this on the line? All right, thank you. And if that's the case, off the record then. Yeah. We're not recording,
I think it'd be cool because there's so much.
yeah, it's some, okay, fair enough. I'll move on. And we'll get on with business and be quick. So 33825, the Carnegie kitchen roof. So it's to receive the reports regarding the roof and how to get it repaired. This was mentioned in a previous meeting and it's a follow-up. So we need to decide whether we authorize the officials, council officers, to select the cheapest quote. And I open the table for any
Now,
comments.
can I do a report summary first, please?
Yes,
Thank you.
comments, go ahead.
We're not here to choose the cheapest quote. Can I just reiterate? You're here to choose what is the best quote for this council going forwards. Just wanted to clarify that because your job is not to choose the cheapest quote. It's the best quote that you believe is correct for the council.
I read it as it was on the agenda, but yes, makes sense.
This report is about moving from temporary fixes, which we've previously having done in the Carnegie kitchen roof, to a more permanent solution to make sure that we create a roof that is fit for the next 20, 30 years, rather than sticking plasters on it constantly year on year. The council previously authorised short-term works, which has helped, but the roof is not still fully watertight. Further deterioration over the winter and more water ingress has created further problems. Now what we have is we've got a roof that is semi-fixed, but it's got holes in it basically and leakages. There is problems with the roofing structure. We've got dry and wet mold. We need to sort that out. We appointed an architect this time because we thought previously we'd just gone along with roofing contractors who stated they knew what was needed done. They did the work and it never fixed it. So we thought, let's get professional advice. And we got architect to bring up the drawings. We've now gone out to different contractors and you've seen the prices in front of you. The same specification, allowing a like-for-like comparison. The recommended option, which I suggest to you, delivers the best value with the less managed risk. What I am proposing as the officer is that we go with the two separate quotes, which is simply the cheapest quote, but the best quote, as opposed to the one from the other company. So in conclusion, what I want councillors to do is to look at the quotes, look at what that's offering and come up with a solution on which one they would prefer to go with or whether they have a different solution.
Okay,
Thank you.
No, thanks for the summary. Right, so any comments, colleagues? Any questions? No?
We've got a couple of quick points. In the text above, it says that the budget ceiling of 31.6 will be funded from the property reserves. It doesn't actually say that in the recommendation, and I think we have been pulled up by the auditor in the past by not specifically stating the source of the funds. So I think the actual box recommendation should include where the money's coming from.
Yeah.
It says it in the report, but
Yeah.
don't want to give them a chance to be nitpicky. And the only other question I had was, I mean, I think it's all fine, and I think it's, you know, much clearer than it was the last time we discussed it, and you know, it all makes perfect sense. In the ND Willen quote, the structural works there are 70,000, and then it says temporary roof if required, £9,000. And you know, that's a significant additional cost, £9,000. I assume because the text above doesn't talk about the £9,000, it just talks about the 17. We're confident that we don't need a temporary roof. We're not going to give the go ahead, and one of the contractors is going to come back and say we need a temporary roof. It's going to cost you £9,000. I just wasn't, you know, that seemed to have been lost in the actual body of the text, which is great if it is, because that's a lot of money, £9,000 for a temporary roof. So I just wanted to see, you know, if there's been discussions with the contractor to say actually we don't need that.
I have spoken to the contractor and I have told them that they need to come up with a solution where we don't need a temporary roof, because what we won't do is be paying them £9,000. I've also asked for some other contractors to come up with some quotes, just in case we could get a like for like in the meantime. They couldn't bring it to this council meeting because they couldn't get their quotes in time. But I think if we can say that we can give the officers delegated authority of a certain amount of money, when them quotes do come in, and if they are cheaper than Willen's, then we can go with them. But we will not be paying the £9,000 for a temporary roof.
Okay.
Yeah, I read that as well, trying to find it on there. That temporary roof, one contractor includes it, the other one doesn't.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a concern. So I would like that clarifying.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Councillor Abley?
My other concern is under the Willens one is that it's provisional. So are we confident that what the architect is saying is what needs doing? Or are we then going to suddenly, he's going to start ripping the ceiling down or something? Oh, well, you know, you need some of this and you need some of that. And suddenly the 17 becomes 30.
Problem is that, you know as well as I do, even with being at home, until you open that roofing structure or that wall or that floor, you never know what lies beneath. So that's why they put that into their quotes, because 9 times out of 10 they will come back to you. But I have been told that they can see it quite clearly because the roof is quite open. So I'm hoping that they are giving us a good quote and that they will not come back with extra costs. But what I can't do is sit here and guarantee that, because that's not something I can do.
Any more comments?
More builds on Terry's point really about reserves. I get that it's funding from reserves. I often find when I see these papers, I go, oh, and I need to try and find what reserves we've got and try and get my head into that. When we present these things where we're spending a lot of reserves, would it be possible to potentially just include a budget of our current reserves just so that we get the overall picture?
Yes, I can do that. I'm afraid that our current RFO is very, very stingy with giving me the reserves and knowledge to hand out. He's very territorial over his budget, but yes, we will do that. Alan, how much reserves have we got in that fund?
Probably repairs up to 31st of March last year. We're putting a lot more money in. This year, we've got £60,000, and I think we're putting in another 14,000 this year. Thanks.
Over 60.
We're going to use.
So what I'll do in future, I will check, I would say where it's coming from, and I'll tell you how much we've got in the reserve, so you can definitely pinpoint whether we've got enough money and where it's coming from.
That'd be great. And I also would appreciate the context of just we put more money in reserves, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it would help. Thanks.
It's useful. Any more comments? Should we then move on to a decision? Need to decide on which of the quotes to go with. Do we have any proposals for any of the specific quotes that? After the recommendation of the officers, the quote proposed. We have it.
We got an officer recommendation in the box. I propose that we accept that subject to the amendment about the location of the funds being included.
Okay. Fair enough. We have a second for that?
Yeah.
Councillor Blackpool? Okay, so all those in favour then? Thank you. Done. Okay. Today's all about building, isn't it? Right, 33925, the stage lighting and curtain. To receive the report. Yeah, and to improve stage lighting and curtain on the Carnegie, before the, before the current certification expires in February this year. We need to either give authorization to the officials or to go with the quote. Again, let's take this point of the cheapest quote, let's just go with the quote.
Right.
That is,
Sorry.
was this supposed to be the cheapest quote?
No,
No, okay.
unfortunately, I prepared the reports, Alan prepared the agenda, and we didn't obviously align.
Okay, that's fair enough. This is something we
Yeah.
can
So in
reword.
future,
quite
we
easily.
will not put in the cheapest quote.
No, it's just the most
Yeah.
appropriate
Yeah.
quote,
approved.
let's put it this
There you
this way.
go.
Very good. Gonna give us a bit of feedback, any?
Yeah, so we previously bought the Carnegie stage lighting and curtaining, and we had some emergency works done to get us through to the end of February. But after the end of February, it's got to be classed as not usable, and we're going to have to close the venue, basically. So what we had to do is go out and have a look from different companies at the pricing structure. And what's happened is, as you can see by the two different prices, there's one that is like 15,000, the other one is nearer £30,000. There's a massive difference in these, and the reasons is the one that's more expensive is creating a whole new structure, so that will be fully operational. It will be able to be lowered by a winch, and then we can put lights on, and then it can be pulled up back to the ceiling. Where the other one is proposing that we still use ladders and staging access platforms, and then you've got your problems with working at height and someone being qualified with a PASMA qualification to go up there and fit the lights at height. So by using the winching system, you're covered by your health and safety. Also, with the more expensive one, which I wouldn't normally want to go with, what it's giving you a guarantee that that will be fit for purpose for the new trust and will be good for the next 20 years. Whereas the one that's £15,000, I think a year or two down the line, you've got to be having to pull that apart and have a whole new one. So you'd be paying the £15,000 and then you'll be paying another 20, 30, 40 in a couple of years' time.
Right, thank you. All right, so we have two very different quotes for two different systems. With different terms of longevity for the equipment and with different requirements on how to set it up, how to manage it on a regular basis, as Sonia mentioned. Any comments? Councillor.
Thank you. Upon the men, I've got two questions. My first one is, we're worried that we're going to be sort of condemned as of February. There's currently about 30 children stood on that stage at this exact moment. What's the difference between today, January 22nd, and a week down the line? Are those children safe right now on that stage?
They are safe because what we did is we got a contractor in to do some works to make it safe, but they were temporary fixes.
Plasters.
Yeah, basically, just to make sure that because otherwise we would have closed in early December, and then these children would not have been on that stage and they wouldn't have been able to do their production. So what we did to ensure that they could still do their production and the Christmas events could go ahead, what we did is we did the sticky plasters, basically.
That's fine, thank you. My sort of point now is I'm leaning more towards A. It is the temporary fix and it is the cheaper one. Mainly for two reasons. One, we're in the run up to our last year as this council. We're spending quite a bit of money on quite a few projects. I do think we should leave some scope for whatever the makeup of the future council is to make some of these decisions themselves. And the other point is, I also think we should get the work to make it compliant as of now. So when the Guildhall Carnegie Trust is set up, they can apply for grants that we're not eligible to apply for as a council, or we probably won't get being a council, they'll probably get turned down. And they can get the funding potentially, and it is a gamble. A trust can get a grant a lot easier than we would be able to get one to help fund a permanent solution. So I think we have our duty to make it compliant and remedy emergency works for around 12 grand. And then I think leave, you saying a year or two's time, leave that to the trust to, I don't say their problem, but their yeah.
That problem is your problem because you will have 5 trustees on there.
Yeah.
Who will be dealing with all of them problems. I mean, I'm happy for you to go for either, but what I have to point out is what you're proposing is another sticking plaster, just a very expensive sticking plaster. And the chances are in a year that most of you sitting here will be re-elected. Who's to know that you won't be?
Thank you for your confidence.
Sitting there thinking, why didn't I pay the extra money? Whoops.
If you could move to Thetford and vote, that would be phenomenal. Thank you very much.
Now that we know what the future holds. Alex, yeah. I get Councillor Peters first and then.
Right, the kitchen ceiling and the roof in the Carnegie. This is work that has obviously been neglected over the years, and it is work that has to be done, otherwise we can't operate. And if we are setting up as we are with the charity where they do the repair, are we endangering the fact that we could have a charity organisation running something by not doing adequate repairs? I'm not keen on sticking plaster. Yes, it is another £11,000, but as a responsible council, I think we should be making sure that we do the work to a good standard where we can, rather than sticking plaster, as has been said. I understand what you're saying. We are spending a lot of money, and we have for a while. But I feel we've got very little alternative.
Okay. Thank you. I have Councillor Jefferson coming in. Do you still want to come in? Yeah.
I actually quite agree with your point of stick. I was going to make similar. I'm concerned about how we're spending a lot of money, and that's why I was talking about and thinking it'd be really good to see the research and just be able to check what we're doing against those. But the way I view it is, whoever comes and sits in these chairs next, I would like them to not have to deal with problems that you've had to deal with. And I think as a responsible council, we should put that in front of mind. And whoever comes into the future, whether it's ourselves in 12 months' time or whether it's a new council, confidence that they can go out and do things, they don't have to deal with things that we let hide. So that would be my position.
Thank you. Councillor, I want to hear you come in.
I'm guessing then we're going to have to cancel a lot of things from the beginning of February, or is it already nothing's booked in?
No, nothing major is booked in, but what we're hoping is for the contractors, we have said to them both that we want this done ASAP, and they've both assured us that they can get it done.
On what is their timescales?
They said 6 to 8 weeks,
6 to 8.
but there's nothing in the diary on the stage in March or April that I know of.
Okay. Okay. Councillor Land?
Thank you. Maybe I'm conflicted because I am a councillor and on one of the trustees, but I completely agree with Councillor Stewart. I don't really see the point of us spending money for the trust when they will be able to do it better and more easily. We spent an awful lot of money on this building already.
I think it comes a point where we have to say, we've done our bit, and move on, and just push it over to them, who are better equipped to find the money to do it. Thank you.
Councillor Jeremy.
Yeah, I don't particularly disagree with either point of view. It's just a sort of value opinion on, individuals to make. There's not a wrong answer here. It's just, whatever you think is best. I think my view is I've been here a long while and I don't remember us ever spending any money on the curtains and the rigging system and the rest of it. So I look at it from that point of view. Yes, it is a big chunk of money, but we've not done it for the last 20 years. And if this lasts for 20 years, you've got to look at it in that context. It will last for a while. And I can't really think of any other venue locally that has a really good stage and curtain system. So from a bookings point of view, actually, it will offer something important to get people to come in and hire the building. We've got panto and stuff going on. It will give the building quite an edge. So I think the need is clear. So I think on that basis, I'm happy to go with the recommendation. I just want reassurance really from either the clerk or deputy clerk, because I do think they are two different quotes. And I see the bit there about, financial rates, and it says it's specialist. I mean, I just want your assurance as officers that, we are able to award the contract to one of these companies, because I'm not certain it's of a specialist nature. There's plenty of curtain companies around the country. I just want reassurance that we have tried to get as best value as we can. And if you tell me we absolutely have, then I'll go along with that. But I think I'd like to ask the question, just so I can say, yep, you've gave me an assurance that it's value for money, and financial regs allows us to make that decision.
Thank you. Any more comments? Dr. McDonald?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Terry in a way that either of the points are valid. I do worry that if we base any of our spending on the fact that we might be finished next year, that will be a handbrake on progression and better development. I also think that although we are going to have a trust in place, I'm pretty sure that that building has got plenty of other things that needs lots of funding for. So I don't see it as wasted money. I would see it as wasted money if we spent 15 grand and then it was changed a couple of years later. And for that reason, I would prefer the bigger bid, despite the fact that we are spending money quite quickly.
Okay. Any more comments?
Can answer Terry's.
Yes, go ahead.
Our heritage and events manager, who deals with the staging downstairs, did go out to 4 contractors. Only 2 came back to them. Unfortunately, people, I don't know why, but whenever we go out to get contracts or people to quote, they just don't come back. And we can send out 5, 6, 7 and we'll get 1 or 2. And I don't know if it's because previously we've got people to quote and they've never got the work, or whether we're known for, as Thetford Town Councillors, don't award the work. But we need to look at that going forward. But the staging, it's not the curtains that is the specialist equipment. It's the rigging and coming down. That's where it goes into the specialist work. So the actual curtains are not, as we all know, we all have curtains, but it is actually the rigging, and that's where it comes into the specialist nature as per financial regs.
Okay.
If I may, I think the key difference with option 2 is it's more about the curtains than the other stuff. They're getting the lighting rigs legally compliant is the first one, but to go the next step is the curtains. If you
And when we spoke to both the 2 big production companies that actually come here at the moment, which is the Players and Magic Floor, and they said that with the new system, more people will want to come to Thetford because it is easier to use. They'll be able to put their own lights up as they want to, and then they can put them up to the roof. So the system would be more beneficial to them, as Terry said.
Okay. Any more comments? Yeah, Councillor Smith.
Just a quick question. So I had to use a calculator because my math's shoddy. But the 2, if we go with both the amounts we've approved today, we've just nigh on bankrupted our reserves. We've gone to 57k and we've only got 60 in there. And yes, we might have 40 coming later, but it's not in the bank this exact moment. So the two decisions we're just about to make are going to leave us with
This is,
nearly nothing.
yeah, so I'll refer to the unrefer because he's definitely got more idea of money than I have.
I don't want to know about 40 grand coming. About the money we've got this exact minute in the bank.
The light on this, Alan?
Our cash flow is actually best it's been since I've been here as a treasurer, so or finance officer. So our cash flow is there. We've actually been very prudent this year in terms of spending money from our reserves. Last year we were spending we were spending tens of thousands virtually every month on the clock tower. So our cash flow is not an inhibiting factor. So we do have. You could look at some of the other reserves. That's just the property reserve. Our total reserves are just under 840,000. So we're not short of some of those reserves are dedicated reserves, but there are some general reserves. So if need be, we'd be able to use those specific reserves.
It's not the end of the pot, is it?
No.
But it's the end of the pot that we're dipping in. So I still don't feel comfortable emptying that pot out.
You've got lots of reserves.
It sort of drains us in the particular property pot and maintenance pot, but not necessarily on the overall pots of reserves we have, if I got it right. Okay. I still have Councillor Peters.
Maybe I've read this wrong, but I thought it's property services from the first pot and this one was from reserves. Are they the same or different?
And this one's also property, isn't it?
It's the same pot.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay.
So I thought it was two separate pots.
No.
Councillor Jefferson.
Yes, just to follow on that point that you made in the different reserves. We've got the reserve pots, which is good. I think it's something to rely on. If something cataclysmic were to happen, and we needed the property reserve fund and we've just spent this money, how quickly do we move reserves and what does the council need to do as a decision to make that possible? I guess it's my question.
It's just, it's very simple to move the money. Alan would have to get an extraordinary meeting and ask for environment and councillors. Do you agree to violence here at council or do you just do it here? So we do normally put them on a council meeting and ask for the money to be transferred, just checking what you do historically. And then that would be really, really quick. So we'd just call an extraordinary meeting. And to be fair, we just spend the money and then ask for forgiveness.
Okay.
It's something cataclysmic.
If I'm out, I think there is regardless of the decision on this particular one, I think we do need to have a conversation about changing some of the reserves and restocking the property one. I mean, I remember, I think it used to be about 200 grand, the property reserve. It was, partly because it was never spent. That's why we've got so many property issues. But we do need to look at changing some around, because I think having a decent amount in a property reserve is probably quite important because we own a lot of buildings.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. Any more comments at all? No. All right, so summarizing, we had quite a divided table regarding option A and option B, which is the officer's recommendation. So option A would be the 15,000 sort of for remedial works. Option B, the long term with a more different approach to the work that is more reliable for the future, basically. So we have I have two people inclined with A, Councillor Land. I have 4 people inclined with option B, Peter Jefferson, Jeremy McDonald. One of
Doing a show of hands.
We need
I will go with the show of hands because we have the majority. So if we go with option A, we vote on it, only the ones that can vote in and leave it. I'll move on to option B and we count them. Is that easy?
Are we doing a show of hands for both?
Propose one of the options.
Yeah, there we do.
Sorry, forgive me, don't say we vote to accept the officer recommendation.
We'll just vote on B, the option recommendation, we can't vote, then it's easy, okay? All right, we have a proposal for option B then. Jefferson and a seconder, Councillor Peters, who's in favor of option B? Yeah.
All right, then.
That's carried, thank you very much.
Let's do the other option just so you.
One of the other option for,
Shouldn't that have been an amendment? So the other option, shouldn't that have been an amendment and been heard first?
No,
No?
because we had a proposer for this one. Only if someone said they wanted to state that they wanted to propose a different option.
just make sure that it's, make sure
We
that
need to make that clear. So if you want to go back, the problem is now it's been carried. But what you need to do, if you want to propose a different option, what you need to do is say, I propose a different option to what the officer is recommending.
Yeah,
And that'll be easier for the chair to know that you want to do that.
yeah, I propose an amendment to the option, which is the cheaper option.
I second it.
Right, all those in favour?
okay. You already voted for those that want an option B. Let's say that Councillor Land proposes option A and Councillor Stirrup seconds option A. Those that want to go with option A. Okay. We had more votes for option B and I don't know, because it is no option B is carried.
It's on the record.
Number of votes. Thank you.
For when I have to sell ourselves on the street now because we're running out of money.
Did initially ask if you wanted to vote on each single one to make sure that the numbers of votes were clear. But then because it is the officer's recommendation, we went straight and voted with the officer's recommendation. And that was carried by majority of votes. So that's, so thank you.
We tried, good.
Okay, last one on our list, 34025, the fire risk assessment. We have questions with the options regarding the urgent matters with the fire risk assessments. The decision is regarding the preferred option and to let our officers deal with it accordingly. With the summary, Tony, please.
I am fire risk assessment program. If I'm honest, you've just spent an exorbitant amount of money. I don't know if you can afford to do this. If I'm honest. But it needs to be done. So we have the problem of the fire risk assessment program. We've got to do it in 2 stages. Do we then make sure that the staff are safe upstairs at a cost to council of quite a lot of money? Or do we put it off and do it all in one stage at a later date? But the problem is that you've had your fire risk now for more than 2 years. We have done all of the easy jobs, but we haven't done any of the critical red jobs. And the problem is that if we get another fire risk assessment, which we will have to do this year, because they only last for 3 years, because of the building and the fact that you've got staff in there and we've got people coming in for the venue, it means that the building has to be looked at more year on year or every 3 years, as opposed to as and when, or when required is some of the legislation. So it's a case of upstairs, the building, when the staff were moved from King's House to the Carnegie, no thought was put into it, and they just said, let's build some walls, let's get the staff in there. There was no structural surveys. There was no proper builders brought in to do proper walls, proper fire risk walls, and the staff are basically sitting in what could be classed as something that's very unsafe. If there was to be a fire at the moment, the staff are in areas that would go up very, very quickly because there is no fireproofing whatsoever. And there is no escape route apart from that one door in the main office. If you've all been upstairs in the main office, if you have a fire in the reception, if you have a fire in the stairwell, the staff have got no means of escape unless they knock through the walls. So at the moment, you've got staff that are in unsafe offices for over 2.
So it is a risk, it is urgent, and it needs to be addressed. We know that much. Councillor McDonald.
So I think firstly, we've opened that with, this is a fire risk. Is there any way that that could have been the first item on the agenda?
Yes.
So I would suggest that we would have agreed to everything in a fire risk assessment and then cut our cloth accordingly with the other 2 items. Having said that, with any risk assessment, as long as, and with subsequent checks, as long as you have done some of that work and are working towards with dates to complete, then that will assuage any checks. However, that's very difficult when you're talking about your staff safety. So I think it's a bit of a shame that we've got to a position now where we're out of money and we're gonna, you know, have to be careful with our spend on this, when really we should go all in and just make sure it's done. So that's me.
Thank you for that, councillor Tony.
I think the important thing to bear in mind is we're not actually in a decision tonight, even if we wanted to go ahead and do this, because there's no quotes or any information in front of us to enable us to make a decision. The council's got some indicative costs, quotes for the work, but they're so old, they wouldn't be honoured. We have to go out and get new quotes. So we have absolutely no idea at this point how much it would cost.
Yeah.
I think the other point is that we've got quite a number of projects on the go at the moment with the dormer window, with the second tower, and we've just agreed 2 other buildings related projects. And those four things combined will take a lot of staff time to deliver over the 6 months, and we need staff to be focused on managing those contractors. You know, there's higher risks themselves within those different projects and other risks, obviously. So they need to be managed properly. The recommendations in the box are to authorise the town clerk to go out and get a tender for the work. I mean, that's essentially us as a council recognising and agreeing in principle that we know there's work that needs to be done, and we're investigating it. And I think that covers Mac's first point, that we are actively pursuing what the opportunities are. And you know, we need a pack of information in front of us detailing what needs to happen. I would ask that it's very clear in that report what is legally required and what is advisory, because very often with these reports, having seen fire risk assessment reports and others, there's a whole load of stuff like, you know, normally they always advise sprinklers. Well, everyone advises sprinklers, but we're not getting sprinklers in the Guildhall. For example, we're not getting a, you know, stairs put in and all of, you know, certain things we just physically can't do. So we need to be really clear on what is absolutely required and is a must, and then what is advisory. With the quotes, and then come back to us later in the year to say, we've done all those other projects, now we're ready to move on to the next phase. I think what I would also like to see alongside that is a current fire risk assessment report, because the last report was done in 2023. Having looked after buildings for a number of years and had a number of fire risk assessments, I've yet to see one that's ever the same. You know, legislation changes, if you get a different company, and it's amazing how much their opinion on what's required alters. But I think we need to be able to sit here and look at a professionalist advice in the fire risk assessment report, compare that against the quotes for the work, and then make an informed decision. And I think we need to recognise that actually we probably don't have sufficient reserves to do that. You know, we probably are going to have to look to borrow money to do that if we want to do that later in the year. But I think actually in terms of where we're at now, we're asking for the information. It's not our fault. The previous council moved all its staff into these buildings without carrying out proper procedures. I could say I made that point when I sat here. But I think you probably do as well, can't you?
Yeah.
But, you know, we've got a lot of work to do, and I would feel happier getting all the other stuff done to a really high standard and on budget.
Yeah.
And then move forward with confidence for this other stuff. But I don't think anyone doubts the need. It's just a case of process.
Okay. Just I'll reply to that. Councillor anyway. Councillor.
Thank you. My concern is that we do this work and kind of lock ourselves into the use of the Carnegie as it is now. What I would like to see is a grander, more overall view of what we want from the offices, how we want the accommodation, how we want the Carnegie laid out. I think that's a much bigger project. And if we spend this money now, which it appears we haven't got, as Terry says, we just lock ourselves into an already poor-ish decision. So I think we need to have a wider look at this, decide what we want from the whole building, how we can best fit it out, and then move forward on that basis. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony?
Yes, I completely agree. We just don't have the funds. I'm glad that you said that we need a new fire risk report because that will give us a best standing of where we are now. But what I will do is, once we've done the staging and the roofing, I will then get the fire risk report, get them finished first, and then get the fire risk reporting, because I'm sure it'll be different once that them is done. And what I'd also like to do, if councillors don't mind, is I'd like to do one for the Carnegie and Guildhall separately. The reason for this is Councillor Jeremy sent me some funding bits over the last couple of days, and I looked at one of them today, and we might actually be able to get some money from one of them for the Carnegie, but we wouldn't be able to get it for the Guildhall. So it's worth separating them out so that we can then apply for the fund for the Carnegie. Even if before we become a trust, we can apply whether we're a council or we are a community trust. So we can apply both ways, but wouldn't be able to apply for the Guildhall. So if councillors are happy for me to go that way, then that would be the best way forward.
More comments?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
At the last full council, we had similar thing come through, and I think I said that we need to know everything that needs to be done. And I pick up on what Councillor Land has said. If we're going out, because we know that we're probably going to have to go out for a public works loan to get this fire safety stuff done. If we're going to be going out for a public works loan, then we need to be doing everything that we need to do in one tranche, because we're not really going to be popular if we go out for a public works loan to do the fire risk assessments and get the safety up to standard, which I agree with everyone, it needs to be done. It is a priority, but we have to do it when we can. But if we're also then saying, look, with the Carnegie, for instance, we're going to need to change some of this, whatever it is, maybe like change the configuration of the kitchens and put changing rooms in, put all singing, all dancing stuff in there. We're putting new ticket offers in. Whatever it is, whatever the priorities are, we get it all in, get our ducks in a row, get everything there, so we know exactly what we want. And if it does put maybe 100,000 on it, we're going out for a public works loan. We're not going to be popular with that anyway. We might as well get the lot done, and let's go right. We get it done. We get it going. We're inflation proofing ourselves for future, and we're getting a venue that is fit for the future. So we need to be looking at, if we're going to go out for a public works loan, let's see what else we need to do as well and get it done, if we can afford to.
In answer to Councillor Peters' question, I'm already in the process of that. So the Heritage and Events Manager has been tasked with best case scenario. He's gone through the whole building of the Carnegie, looking at what we need. He's been working with the actors that are down there at the moment, looking at what we can improve, looking at new flooring, everything. Best case scenario, we're going through it bit by bit, and he's made a list. And what I'm going to do with the Community Environmental Services Manager is go through the Guildhall and do the same thing. So we are in the process of that, but it's not a quick process.
No. I know this thing can't happen
We need
overnight.
to make a big, long list, and then we may need to make it into a project plan so that we can put it onto a contract finder to see if people are interested in the contract and how much it's going to cost us. But this is going to take us between 6 and 9 months to complete.
Just a series of stages that we need to go through before we reach a point where we can ask for quotes for the work and what needs to be done. So, okay, so we've been asked to choose an option, but there's been quite a few conversations, councillor stood up, so.
I can't stress how against I am, and I've said this a few times, the idea of a public works loan, and it is something forewarning, will fight the hardest I can to not go for. That's not the proposal that's put forward, so we can't even factor that in. The word says reserves, and we need as a council, council reserves 41k to 50k, sort of phase one. I know right now we're not agreeing to that amount, because we can't without sort of quotes and so on, but we need to as a council be financially prudent, sort of where is our actual money? Because if I get my way, we won't have a loan, or we may go for a loan and it not get approved. So we can't factor anything that we're doing on the idea of we'll get, I want to do what's been suggested and go out and fix everything at the same time. Makes absolutely perfect sense. But we can't ride on the assumption of a loan will pay for it all. We've got to spend the only money that we've got. Where is this? And it's written in the pack, which is why I'm questioning it. Where is this, as of right now, 41 to 50k earmarked? And it could be a lot more, could be a lot less. We never know. Where is that money? And I do echo Mac's point, which he said at the very start. It would have been great to maybe have this one first. Before, would have been great if we voted as I suggested. What else? This is my new version of the. We should have only took on 6 car parks. I'm joking. I'm not going to be bitter about it. Okay. Still has. Yeah, the bigger chunk of money maybe should have been the priority one we're going to spend. But we've said we've got other pots throwing around. I don't know how we can sort of make any sort of decision without, as Doug said, evidence of where all our money is in what pots. What's it earmarked for? Because we're being asked to potentially spend up to 50k on a fire plan that we're hoping we're going to get a loan for, potentially to pay for everything, but we don't have that. I mean, it's been a very hypothetical conversation at the moment, and I don't like hypotheticals.
Councillor
I get why some councillors are nervous. You know, we're talking about big sums of money and big decisions. I think it would be useful when we have decisions like this to include in the pack a balance sheet showing, you know, where our reserves are. I'm less concerned because I went in and asked Alan for one last week because I said we hadn't had a reserves statement for a while at corporate services. And, you know, I wanted to make sure that the property reserve had money. So I think, you know, a bit of reassurance. We're not, you know, we are spending money as a council the last few years. Although we are, it's all relative compared to a lot of councils, we are, you know, quite well off. And we're spending it to do stuff. It's not like it's wasted. I do think in the recommendations, though, just to pick up the town clerk's point there, perhaps we should have, when this comes back, because it says here, bring back plans to a future full council meeting, there should be something accompanying that, looking at how it can be financed. Because I do think we don't want to drift towards the only option being the Public Works Zone Board. It could be, as Sonia mentioned, there are, you know, a number of, if we package it up into different elements, there are grants available. There might be some of our own reserves that we don't have to borrow. Because obviously we're putting money into reserve this financial year, and we're putting money into reserves next. You know, we're putting 100 from the 1st of April onwards. We're putting another £100,000 into reserves. Reserves are going up. So I think actually a finance paper alongside it would make sense, and also external grants. The other point I would make is I was at the Pride in Place board meeting this week. You might remember there's been a whole load of solar panels put on the Breckland Leisure Centre. And they said at that meeting, and they got a grant to pay for that, and they said that even in the winter, their energy costs have gone down by 20%. You know, if we're being sensible, and, you know, going back to Vic's point, if we're going to do this work, we might as well look at things like that, because from an ongoing point of view, if we reduce the running costs, actually it is an investment. So we need to look at the art of the possible, I think.
Yeah, excellent. Has Sonia Wakeman?
Just to say that one of the things that we have put in our best case scenario pot is solar panels and a air source heat pump as well. And we've also looking at whether we have somewhere to store the power with batteries, so that we can use the more, because we'll obviously use more in the winter than we would in the summer. And that would then make this building really sustainable, and it will be able to fund itself in its own electricity. With regard to the officer recommendations, if we scrap these ones and choose some new ones, what I would suggest is that once the other work is completed, we get a new fire risk report. In the meantime, we carry on with the work that we're doing, as in what is the best way to do this building, and work with an architect when we have our ideas, and then bring it back to council periodically. What I don't want to do is throw a complete paper at you. I want to give you updates through time so that you can understand, rather than me throwing a 30-page document at you and say, there you go, make a decision.
Councillor Jefferson, do you want to come in?
So yeah, I think that kind of feels very confusing what we're going to be voting for. I was trying to clarify that, so thanks, that makes sense.
Councillor Wynne.
I'm going to thank you for the work the Heritage Events Manager's doing in terms of looking at everything. And I'm going to slightly disagree with you, I'm afraid, because I want to know, rather than each town, each full council become like, oh, we need this one this time, we need this bit of money this time, we need this bit of money this time, which is where we are. We're just sort of chasing money all the time. I would actually, to be honest, prefer that 30-page report so we can make a judgment on all this stuff in between, rather than just running along spending money all the time. I don't think that's the best and most sustainable use. Completely agree regarding the solar panels, and I'm a bit iffy about heat pumps, but certainly batteries and all the rest of it. But I do think we need and this might be something that we're not able to do within this council, but I do think we need to have a grand plan about what we should do regarding the stuff that we need to do, because then you get a better idea of how much money you want to spend on each item within that, rather than us just chasing for onwards.
That's not what I was suggesting. Let me clarify what I was suggesting. What I mean is, what I don't want council to do is think that we're doing nothing, but we are working in the background. And what I want to do is just give you updates of where we are and what we're doing. For an update, I'm not going to bring anything back.
I'm happy to read a 30-page report.
I think you're the only one, maybe Terry Drummond.
Okay, any more comments on this? There's been a couple of recommendations, then the third one, for anyone coming in, do you want to reiterate that for us? How you just go about it, because we need to get some sort of decision or,
So these are my recommendations if council want to go, or if you want to propose different ones. Complete fire risk report, a new fire risk report, once the other building work has been completed. Bring that back to council, and while we're doing that, look at how we've got to improve the building from top to bottom. Bring that report back to council later in the year, probably towards the end of the year, with a finance paper of how we've got funded. Separate the buildings into two, so that if I can find money for the Carnegie, I can then put that into the finance paper, and that only means then that you have to find money for the Guildhall.
If we're talking about, we are going to be coming back much later in the year, are we absolutely happy that there is nothing in the fire regulations or whatever that we're going to fall foul of in any way?
I can't answer that question because I don't know. I can't see the future. So if something happens in the meantime, we would have to deal with it. But because we've got to get, I mean, these upgrades that we're doing should be finished by the end of February, beginning of March. So I can then get a fire officer to come in and look at, and then we can bring that to the April full council. So we are moving forward gradually, and that's what the fire officers asked for us to do.
Can I ask David's question a different way? With the resources available, have we been able to action the recommendations from the previous fire risk assessment?
No.
Okay.
I think that a lot of the easiest things that we could do. So we've sort of done emergency lighting, we've done all those things. But the big things we haven't been able to do.
Okay.
Does that put us in?
All of the critical items.
I think part of the, whatever the proposal is that whatever we do, fire risk assessment, whatever works are going to happen, but at no point it puts the staff in jeopardy.
Yeah.
So I think that that's got to be part of the plan. So if ever that comes to fruition, then we have to stop and review. And I think it's important the staff know that we know that as well.
Yeah.
Yes, so we
Thank you.
had,
Well,
Alan did implement some staffing stuff before I joined, which is no one's allowed to work in the office on their own. There's got to be two people. So we always make sure when we're closing the offices, we'll always ask in the morning, what time is everyone leaving, to make sure that there's always two people in the offices, so no lone working. And we check the fire alarms every week, so that's something that we do. We do make sure, unfortunately, the fire doors were cluttered yesterday, but we've cleared all of them. Unfortunately, we had the players come in and they thought it'd be a good idea to put all their staging and everything else in front of all the fire doors. We've just had a conversation with them, and we'll make sure that when we have people in renting the property, we'll go around every day and make sure that all the fire doors are clear, so that we know that we have them escape routes. And something else we do is we do regular checks. So we'll do regular fire alarms with the staff. And what we do is we border off certain doors. So you know yourself, you'll go to the quickest door. And what we'll do is put staff in front of that door saying this one is on fire, and find another exit. So we try and make sure that the staff know what exits are where, and so that we can get out as quickly as possible.
That's really good, actually. I was going to mention increased fire evacuations, because that's a mitigation that I've had to put in other buildings where we haven't got the right facilities. So, and it sounds like you're doing more, actually. So that's good.
Yeah, that's quite a good set of safety measures. Some of them were mentioned on previous full council meeting, like making sure people work in pairs, etc. As mentioned before, and at least some way of keeping them safe, isn't it? Any more comments? I think we now need to sort of summarize this recommendation. Just quite a few points. Yeah, so finish the work that we, so basically the preference was finish the work that are going to be doing and get the fire assessment carried out, if I'm not mistaken. Use the safety measures in the interim. There was something.
Both the buildings separately.
I'll separate the buildings, so, prepare a plan of works for each one of them separately. That's for both for, because makes them manageable and potentially for grants or funding purposes that can be addressed in separate.
And when we bring the report down back, we have a finance paper.
Yes.
Decided.
Some numbers that kind of brings, makes it clear for us where we stand with finances and how we're gonna source or try and source the funds to address these fire issues.
So are you doing the minutes from this meeting, Alan? Are you clerk in this meeting?
I am.
What are you able to
Don't
pick?
worry, they're always this confusing. Are you confident that you've captured what's in the written recommendation and the clerk's up?
Yes.
I was
Brilliant.
gonna ask, Alan, if you can put it in one paragraph. I was making sure.
We should go home.
No, it's fair enough. I was making sure I got all, it is quite a few bits in it, so I make sure I got all the bits in it. And then if you manage to get them all, maybe put them in a paragraph.
It is recorded.
Yeah.
So you're
So-
fine.
So, okay, from the points we mentioned, are you guys, okay with that? Is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
We have to have a proposal for those points to take that route. We have proposal, Councillor McDonald, we have second for sure. Born, everybody in favor of those recommendations? All right, thank you so much. That's carried.
When you finish, I just want to update councillors before we go.
Okay, so that's the last point of the agenda. One update from Sonia.
No, you can close the meeting down.
Okay, fair enough. So the meeting is closed for now. Thank you very much, everybody. It is now 7:58, so in good time. Thank you.
Can I just give council an update? Just to let you know that